Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Haaland, I understand you'll be in Utah next week for the signing of the Navajo Water Rights Agreement. I want to thank you for your work on that issue and your collaboration on these and many other issues. Madam Secretary, in January of 2021, shortly after he took office, President Biden told the American public that he was placing this moratorium on oil and gas leasing. And he informed them that it'd be contingent upon a report to be produced by your department, the Department of the Interior, regarding the oil and gas leasing program. Now, a couple of things have happened since then. Well, one is that the report has been produced and released by your department. The other is that there's been a court order concluding that the president lacked the authority to issue this moratorium to begin with, and your department chose not to appeal that court ruling. So let me ask you this. In light of this, does the president want to continue the oil and gas leasing moratorium?
Senator, there is not a moratorium.
Okay. So there is not one, so you're saying he does not want to continue one. Now, it is important. I mean, some might suggest, well, leasing is resumed. Well, that kind of assumes facts, not in evidence. Number one, offshore leasing hasn't resumed, and you've cut onshore leasing by 80%, and at the same time imposed a 50% royalty hike, which will, of course, be passed on to American consumers in the midst of an energy crisis in which they're tired of paying $5, soon to be $6 gas. So would you advise the president to reinstate the oil and gas leasing moratorium? Yes or no?
No. I mean, there was a pause. There was not a moratorium. There isn't a moratorium now.
Okay. So there's a pause. There isn't a moratorium now, but it seems to me like there's a de facto moratorium. No leasing going on offshore, and onshore has been restricted by 80% with further discouragement provided by a 50% royalty increase passed on to consumers who are tired of paying $5, soon to be $6 a gallon gas. We've seen this pattern of attacks on the oil and gas industry. And just last week, the department canceled 3 scheduled auctions that would have opened up space in Alaska's Cook Inlet and the Gulf of Mexico for energy production. Now, a couple of interesting things about this. Gina McCarthy, the White House climate advisor, told a CBS reporter that an offshore lease sale had been canceled. But she did so before the cancellation was even made public. Did you authorize Ms. McCarthy to make that statement, that announcement?
I don't believe that I spoke with Ms. McCarthy.
So you did not authorize it. Now, just last month, Ms. McCarthy also told MSNBC that, quote, President Biden remains absolutely committed to not moving forward with additional drilling on public lands. Do you agree with Ms. McCarthy as to that statement, yes or no?
Senator, I am working to lead the Department of the Interior.
I get that, but do you agree with the statement or not?
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't speak with Ms. McCarthy. I don't speak with them about any statements that they made.
I didn't ask that. I asked whether you agreed with it. And your answer is you don't know. Perfectly legitimate answer, I suppose, but troubling in some ways. Now, with respect to the Cook Inlet lease, which was canceled, your department, the Department of the Interior, cited a quote-unquote lack of industry interest in that lease. Now, it seems to me that industry interest can't really reasonably be gauged or gauged at all until the extent or the value of the actual bids are made clear. So does this mean you're going to force companies to tip their hand, show their cards every time they want to pursue a leasing opportunity?
Well, I think it's our job to make sure that we are reaching out to companies, that we're gauging their interest by speaking with them, and if there is no interest and it doesn't make sense to move forward.
Mr. Boudreau, the Cook Inlet lease, yes or no, would be a relatively low-producing lease, correct?
So I grew up looking out on Cook Inlet,
and I'll just say there is a long history of leases,
Not my
potential lease
question.
sales in Cook
Low
Inlet
producing,
being
high
delayed or canceled.
Okay, not at all responsive to my question. The answer is, relative to others, it's a relatively small one. But interestingly enough, the Department of the Interior determined that its draft EIS concluded that by not offering even this relatively small lease in the Cook Inlet, oil prices would rise by about 1%. Now, this is your department concluding that. Oil prices would rise by about 1 cent per gallon, per barrel. Now, it withheld those leases anyway. While we're in the midst of an energy crisis, Americans tired of paying $5 a gallon gas, soon to be $6 a gallon gas. I read a report this morning indicating that many gas companies are recalibrating their registers so that they can actually keep up with the charges of $10 or more a gallon gas. But the Gulf leases are much, much larger. They're huge. Did the department conduct an analysis of how much higher oil prices would go as a result of the cancellation of those Gulf leases? Madam Secretary, yes or no?
I would be happy to get you that answer, Senator. I couldn't tell you at the moment. Okay. At the end of the, can I ask one more follow-up question? This will be very brief. In January, a federal judge invalidated lease sale 257 based on your department, the Department of the Interior, doing insufficient environmental analysis. Now, you chose not to appeal that decision, so none of those leases will be awarded or drilled. And look, as I look at this, and as a longtime appellate lawyer, I suspect that there's likely one of two explanations for this. Either you were happy with the result, you liked the result, or alternatively, you knew that the environmental work that your department had done on this was sloppy. Which was it? Well, what I could say about that is that our solicitors, they consult with the Department of Justice on these issues, and they make the determination on whether an appeal should take place. Okay. We have a department that is determined to not allow oil and gas leasing. They've hiked royalties. They have taken things out of eligibility for leasing. This is coming at great expense to the American people, who are paying dearly for it. The American people deserve better.
Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.